Welcome to our Friday Bible study. And we are thankful to the Lord that He has given us this opportunity to share God's Word. First of all, we would like to greet again this week's birthday celebrants. We'd like to greet again Lance, Karina Castellanos. Happy birthday, Karina. Max De Leon and Faye Atkins, Kasai Atkins, tomorrow's birthday. And Niman De La Fuente, happy birthday, Niman. Also, again, wedding anniversaries for Bong and Amy De Guzman and Jen and Irene Atienza. Those are October. And guess what? Next will be November. Time is flying by. So, again, God bless all of you for being with us. I pray that you are able to share this live stream to your friends and to your loved ones wherever they are. And that is the wonder of this technology, that it can be, you can see it or watch it wherever you are, and at any time also, at any time. So God has been good to us, and I hope and pray that all of you are doing well, and we will continue our lesson on parables of the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, to understand this next parable that Jesus shared, and probably this parable that we're going to talk about tonight, is actually together with the parable of the prodigal son. This parable is probably one of the most preached of all the parables of the Lord, and you will see why. You will understand why it is so. Now, as we go to the parable, we must first understand the narrative, the story behind, or the context of why this parable was given. Okay? Now remember, I need to emphasize that parables are not meant to, you should not use parables to teach about a certain doctrine, because parables are parables. There's a reason why Jesus shared it. And parables are, you should not use parables to establish a doctrine, which many religious groups do that. So, let's understand the context. First of all, this is what the Bible said in our text, okay? Luke chapter 10. Behold, a certain lawyer stood up and tested him, saying, Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? All right. And he said to him, Jesus answered, What is written in the law? What is your reading of it? So he answered and said, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself, meaning love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus said to him, Well, you have answered rightly. Do this, and you will live. So here we should see the purpose of why Jesus shared the parable is this. There was a lawyer, and I'll share with you who this lawyer is, a scribe actually, an expert on the law, tested him. Now that's what we should understand. He has an impure motive. His question was not meant to satisfy his curiosity, but to test Jesus. And you know what? Many people do that. They ask questions just to test because they have their own answer. But God are seeking for those who have genuine questions in their heart. So what happened was, this scribe or this lawyer, when he was trying to test Jesus, he was trapped in his own trap. All right? He was caught in his own trap because he knew that he cannot love God with all his heart. What more for his neighbor? So this is what the next text said. So, wanting to justify himself, meaning wanting to acquit himself or wanting to validate himself. You see, he got caught unaware. He got caught by his own trap. So, trying to evade the truth, trying to evade if he really loved God with all his heart and also his neighbor, he asked a second question. You know, and this is what lawyers usually ask when they are caught in the debate. Okay, in a debate, when a debater is caught in his own little thing, he asks another question, and this is what this lawyer did. And he said, instead of saying, I'm sorry, I cannot love God with all my heart and I cannot love my neighbor as myself, instead of doing that, he asked another question. He said, who is my neighbor? And then Jesus gave this parable. A certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves. Now you know the parable. The parable of the Good Samaritan, right? Who stripped him of his clothing, wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. So when Jesus wants to show this Jewish scribe or Jewish lawyer, he wants to share who is really the neighbor. Is it a geographical neighbor, meaning the house beside our house, the one working on the same office? Is it something geographical, or is it something more than that? And this is why we're going to share with you the parable, and we'd like to share with you about learning to care enough. Learning to care enough. Because that is the summary of what this parable is all about. Who is your neighbor? Who are the people you should care for? Who are the people that you should love? And as Jesus shared this, we should understand that people who need mercy are the ones who are your neighbor. Okay? The ones who are in need. So, learning to care enough. How do we care the right way for our neighbor? No. We should go first to the most important thing that Jesus also wants to share. And what is that? It is this. You cannot separate your relationship with God with your relationship with your fellow man. You know why he cannot say he could love his neighbor like he loved himself? Because he cannot love God with all his heart, with all his soul, with all his strength, with all his mind. And so, this is a lesson to everybody. You cannot separate your relationship with God, your love with God. You cannot separate that with your relationship or love with your fellow man. There's a verse found in 1 John chapter 4 that explains this, and this is what it says. If someone say, okay, I love God. So this is what happened. Someone say, that's what's coming out of his mouth, but that is not what's really in his heart, because he just says it, but he doesn't live it. So he said, if someone says, I love God, and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother, whom he has seen, how can he love God, whom he has not seen? So again, you can only love your neighbor if you love God with all your heart. That's how simple it is. So, with that, let us go to the 5 ways we look at people in need. 5 ways. And we could see that in the 5 characters seen or heard in this parable. Okay? First, we go to the lawyer. The lawyer. We know that this lawyer, we can call it a scribe, he looks at the one in need as a topic to discuss. Right? Who is my neighbor? Will you define what neighbor is? Let's discuss about this topic. And that's what many people do when it comes to service, when it comes to people in need. Let's define first, what is a homeless? What is mental illness. What is this person in need? Will you please define it to me? Or let's change the terms. First of all, let's understand who this lawyer is. They are scribes. And what is a scribe? Who is a scribe? Well, first of all, they are learned men who are experts in studying the law. They write commentaries on it, they transcribe it, and also people hire them when writing legal documents or when an interpretation of a legal point is needed. They go to these people because they are experts in the law. Their job, one of their job is preserving the Old Testament scriptures by copying them or recopying them meticulously. And you know the story, right? So the scribes, when they copy the scriptures, they are so meticulous that when it comes to the word Lord or Yahweh or Jehovah, they stop, put their pen down, go wash their hands, wipe them clean, and then go back and write the word Yahweh, Jehovah, or God. That's how meticulous they are. So they're well known, they're respected for their knowledge, for their dedication, and their appearance in the public eyes as the one who keeps the law. Now remember, the public has this perception that, hey, if he knows the law that much, he must be keeping that law. All right, so here it is. But the problem with this lawyer, or supposed to be expert of the law, is this. Having the right answers does not equate to right living. When he said, now rightly, notice what he said. You know what is written, right? Jesus said. What is the law? What is the great commandment? And he said, well, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy strength, with all thy mind. And you should love your neighbor as yourself. He knows that by heart. As a Jew, the Jew orate that or shares that Deuteronomy 6:5. It's their Shema. Children learn that. Jewish children learn that when they were young. And then when they're old, they pray it or they share it out loud in the morning and in the evening. That's in the heart of every Jewish person. But here's the problem. And then Jesus said, so you're right. You're right. You know your law. You know what is written. Now do it and live. With that, he was trapped because he knew he cannot live it. So he just asked another question. And that is the problem with man. The commandments are given to show us that we have fallen short of God's glory. No one could really love God with all their heart, mind, soul, and strength. And so with that, we are shown that only Jesus can fulfill that law. And then when you have Jesus, then you have fulfilled that law. But in our own capacity, in our own flesh, in our own nature, in our own sinful nature, no one would love God with all their heart. And this person felt that. He has the right answer, but it doesn't mean he lives it. Here he is, a teacher who shares that scripture, love the Lord with all your heart, and love your neighbor as yourself, and yet he himself is not able to live it. You see, many people, even Christians in this world, they have the right answer. You ask them, they could give you the text, they could give you the verse promptly, they memorize it, but their life is not equal to what they know. The Bible is very clear. You shall know them by their fruit. By their fruit you shall know them. So it's important, yes, that you have the right answer, but you leave out that answer. See, when you share the Bible, make sure you leave what you share. In Tagalog, ipamuhay mo yung pinangangaral mo. Sapagkat, if people don't see that in your life, then they will question what you're saying. Now, so Jesus continued with a parable. A certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and fell among thieves, and stripped him of his clothing, wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. Now here we see the second character, one of the five who responded to, who is my neighbor? And if the lawyer look at this man in need, look at the word neighbor like a good topic to discuss, it's just a topic. But this, I'd like to share with you about the second person. But before we do that, we should understand that the Bible said that this person, this Jew, was walking from Jerusalem to Jericho. Now, this Jericho is not the Jericho that Joshua was used to destroy its walls. Actually, this Jericho is located almost 2 miles south from the Jericho that was destroyed in Joshua's time. Okay? It is a rocky, winding, and dangerous descent of 3,300 feet in 17 miles. So, when the Bible said a man was walking down from Jerusalem to Jericho, that's literally walking down. Very steep, very steep. And not only that, it's a very dangerous road. Very dangerous. It is called sometimes, one of the church fathers call it the bloody way, because it is beset by thieves and danger. It is well known in that place that from Jerusalem to Jericho, that road is very dangerous. Now, why Jerusalem to Jericho? Jerusalem is where the temple is, right? And Jericho is where thousands of priests, it's a designated place where priests and Levites reside. So it's typical that they go that path, all right? So now we'll see. Let's understand. Here's the thieves. How do they look at a person in need? Well, they are an object to exploit. They're not persons, they're just an object. They're just a means to my end, and they will provide my need by me getting it from them. So, the thieves is another person here. He looks at the person walking. Hey, we can get something out of this person, right? So, what are we trying to see here? These are the people who wants to get the most out of somebody else. When they see a person, they ask themselves, what can I get out of this person? How can I use this person as a means for me to get what I want? You see, God gave us people to love and objects to enjoy. But if you use people as an object and then use it for your own thing, that's exploiting people. Just to use them as instrument. That's why when people go when you see a person, maybe even in church, okay, and even when you visit people, you ask yourself, how can this person be of use to me? Is he good for my business? Is he good for my own personal gains? Can I get something out of him? That's how thieves look at other people. And these thieves robbed him, hurt him, left him naked there, beaten him up, and just left him half dead. That's a very terrible thing. And what can you expect? They want to exploit people. So be careful. If you look at others and look at them as people to exploit, then you are no better than these thieves. Okay? When you try to help others and you want to be in the news so you will be popular, especially during election time, you want to be seen with the poor, giving out stuff. Now, if you're giving out stuff and rice and everything on election time, sincerely, then do it. Don't do it this election time. Do it even way before election. Make it as a way of life. But if you do it and then you have this picture taken, so and so gave out this, then Are you sure you're not exploiting people for their votes? Are you sure you're not exploiting people for your image? That's a question to ask. Now the next is another character that we see. Who is this? By chance a certain priest came that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. Yes, many priests passed by that road. And when he saw this person who was beaten up, who was exploited by the thieves, guess what he did? When he saw him, he passed by on the other side. You know why? Because the Jewish priest was, it's forbidden for them to touch or to be near a dead body. It's a command forbidding the priest from defilement by contact with a dead body. It's stated in Leviticus 21, verse 1. So maybe he's saying to the priest, he's saying, well, I must, it looked like he's dead. I must avoid this person because he is a problem to avoid. If I get near him, then I will be defiled. That's a Jewish priest because they are so, it's supposed to be so close to God, and God is a representation of life. Then the other opposite of life is death. So they are not allowed to even be in a room with a dead body, except it is their close, immediate relatives. So this priest, maybe saying to himself, well, I just did my priestly thing in the temple, so I should not. It's just a problem. It will destroy my testimony. It will destroy my reputation. It will be a defilement for me. A big problem, right? A problem to avoid. So when you see some needs, are you saying to yourself, well, if I do this, it'll be a big problem. I'll spend some money. It'll take some from my savings. What are the excuses that you have in trying to avoid helping? Simply because it becomes a problem for you. Now we see the next person, and it's a Levite. After the priest had passed by, a Levite came, and the Bible said when he arrived at the place, he came, he looked, he got closer, he came to where the body was, he looked, and he passed by on the other side. Now, who are the Levites? Levites are from the tribe of Levi, known for their high moral standards, and they assist the priest in their work at the temple. So again, very religious, very moral. But what did he do? The Levite looked at the person in need and said, oh, he's an object of curiosity. He came to look, but he didn't do anything. He was just curious, but not sincere or enough to help. So that is why, we look at these people who pass by, and maybe we ask this moral person, maybe we ask this Levite, hey, what's your excuse? And maybe he'll tell you, well, I've been serving at the temple. I've done my part. I'm so tired. I have to rest now. Let others do this work here. And by the way, maybe his fault. He knows this road is dangerous. He knows there's thieves here. Why was he not careful? So not my fault. It's his fault. And maybe he's saying, well, I'll pray so God will send someone to help him. He's a moral person. So he's probably saying, oh, I'll include him in my prayer list so someone can help him. He's just an object of curiosity. So, with that, we come to the main character. Okay? But before we do that, there's another one that mostly it's not noticed. Remember when the good Samaritan came and helped and cared for the person. He brought him to the inn. And so there is an innkeeper. The next day, when he departed, we're jumping a little bit here, he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper. So that's the next person of interest for us here. how does the innkeeper look at this wounded person that this Samaritan brought to his inn? Well, to the innkeeper, he's just a customer to serve. Many times when you look at needy people, you do your thing because that's what you're paid to do. That's what you raise money to do. It's therefore not anymore of love, it's not anymore of compassion, but more of, hey, this is my job, and I better do it. How do you look at a needy person? Do you really help people because you want to, because you love God so much, or because you're just paid to do it? Now we go to the last one, and this is the Samaritan. And a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was. When he saw him, he had compassion. Remember that? He went to him, bandaged his wounds, poured out oil and wine, and he set him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, took care of him. That is very significant. Because to the Samaritan, he's not just an object, he's not just someone to exploit, it's just not a topic to discuss. You know, he is a neighbor to serve. He is a neighbor to serve. And that's what the topic is all about. Who is my neighbor? And he did some things that a true person who loves his neighbor as himself will do. This set him apart. Now, first of all, he was, remember, a Samaritan. First of all, a Samaritan is looked down by the Jews. So when Jesus used the Samaritan as the hero, it's a slap on the face of the Jewish lawyer. All right? The one they hate. You see, for a Jew, the only neighbor that they could consider is a fellow Jew. It's a fellow Jew. Even if you are in need, but if you are a Gentile, meaning a non-Jew, what more a half-breed like a Samaritan who is half Gentile, half Jew, man, they won't consider you a neighbor. But here, Jesus used the Samaritan as the hero. He was the one who helped the Jew who was beaten down. See, the Lord knows the heart of man, and this is what he did. But we see this Samaritan did 4 things, showed 4 things that a true person who loves his neighbor must do. Number 1, he had compassion. The Bible said, and he saw him and came to him and had compassion on him. Folks, compassion makes a difference. Without compassion, you could have pity on any person but not do anything about it. He had compassion. Secondly, he was not afraid to be in contact with a Jew. He's not afraid. He's a Samaritan. You see, the thing with this Samaritan, as he walks down that road, he's in double danger. He's in danger with the thieves, and he's in danger with the hostile Jews who look down on him and vilify him. So, yet he was there on that road at that time for that moment. So, he came in contact and he was not afraid to help. You see, you could pray all you want about people in need. But if you're not willing to have contact with them, to touch them, to lift them, to heal their wounds, you need contact, folks. Yes, you could send money for people who are in need. But you yourself must learn how to be in contact, direct, hand-to-hand contact with them. Not only that, he really cared, right? He used wine and oil, probably his supply as he traveled. It has a healing capacity. Wine is like an antiseptic, and oil has a healing capacity. So he used that. He cared. And he administered it with his own hands. And then he brought him He let him ride his probably donkey, and he walked. He put the wounded person in his animal, and then he walked. That's care. Willing to give what you have, your comfort, for his comfort and care. And not only that, when he brought him to an inn, he gave 2 days worth of salary, 2 denarii. That's 2 days worth of salary, and said, here, whatever is needed, do it. And when I come back, I'll pay you more. Wow, that cost something, right? That cost his time. He might have had an appointment, but helping people always costs something. Either your energy, your time, your money, your treasure. So it must cost something, and he was willing to pay the price. Now, when Jesus described who a true person who loves his neighbor is, Jesus finished with this verse, with this question. Which of these 3 do you think was the neighbor to him who fell among the thieves? And he said, he who showed mercy. Notice, the lawyer, the scribe, did not even say, oh, it was the Samaritan who showed mercy. He didn't even mention the word Samaritan, because, he just said, he who showed mercy. But Jesus said, okay, never mind. You hate him so much, you cannot even mention his name, okay, and who he is. So he who showed mercy on him, and Jesus said to him, well, go and do likewise. Go and do likewise. It's not about knowing what to say, having the right thing to say. It's doing what you know, living out the truth with your heart. Okay, if that's what you said, then do what he did. So again, folks, in closing, as we ask ourselves, now I know my neighbor is the one in need. My neighbor is the one who I should show mercy. And I should do like the Samaritan did. I cared. It cost me something. I had compassion. So this week, when you see a person in need, I challenge you, go and do likewise. God bless you, and thank you for being with us. May the Lord give you a wonderful weekend ahead. God bless.